Fight now.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM dial nearest you, plus ESPN Radio and Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2019 John R. Wooden Player of the Year. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. We know what time it is. We're getting some basketball stuff later, pro basketball that is, football stuff later. I think people are bloviating about the Cleveland Browns a little bit too much. I don't know what the hell is wrong with my New York Yankees. The hell you lose to arguably the worst team in baseball, 2 out of 3. What's up with that? Michael Kay, afternoon drive time host, plus calling Yankee games for the Yes Networks. He'll be on with us live at the top of hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We'll talk to him about all things baseball, by the way, because he knows all things baseball. We'll talk to him about that, but before I get into any of that, we know where we have to lead. The Duke Blue Devils are going home. The Duke Blue Devils will not advance to the Final Four in Minneapolis next week, courtesy of a 68-67 loss to Michigan State. Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans. The Duke Blue Devils are going home. They will not advance to the Final Four. And before I get into Duke, I want to give love to this cat, Cassius Winston. Excuse me. This kid, Cassius Winston, 20 points, 9 of 23 shooting. Wasn't that impressive in that regard. But his decision making, excuse me, this is what happens when you eat a burger before you come to work. Cassius Winston, 1 turnover in 40 minutes. 1. Magic Johnson, I got to give him credit. Because even though he's the president of basketball operations for the Los Angeles Lakers, who now are clearly not having the most stellar season in the world, he is the former Michigan State Spartan. He is the one that guided them to a national championship back in 1980. He is in 1979, 1980. He is somebody that showed up, still supports the program tremendously, and showed up and was at the regional final yesterday afternoon. This is the individual, Magic Johnson, we're talking about here, that met with this team Saturday during practice. He talked to them about not turning the ball over. He talked to them about pushing the pace. He talked to them about making sure you get your share of rebounds, which they did, particularly in the first half. This is what Michigan State was doing, crashing the offensive boards, which is why they ended up with 11 for the game. This is the same Michigan State squad that played lights. I got a big-time 3 near the end from Kenny Goins to seal the deal. Xavier Tillman finished with 19 points and 8 of 12 shooting, but the real job he did was in trying to defend Zion Williamson. Michigan State, at the end of the day, shot 45% in the second half, shot 50% from three-point range in the second half after shooting just 18% in the first half. Only got to the free throw line 3 times and made 2 of them. Duke Blue Devils were an entirely different story. Shot 50% from the field in the second half, but only 4 of 11 from three-point range in the half and 7 of 21 for the game. They missed 4 of their 9 free throws. In the last waning minutes, R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson shot like 52% for the free throw line. Now, we can throw out those numbers, and I'm just throwing out there to just make sure the analytic folks are pleased. Or those who are watching aesthetically, you just want to know those stats, that's fine. Let me break this down for you in Stephen A. parlance. Let me break this down for you in a way that, as my man Joe Madison on Urban View Radio said, let me give it to you where the goats can get it. Let me try that. Let me tell you something right now. Zion Williamson is a man. He's a man. Finished with 24 and 14. Played 37 of the 40 minutes. I don't give a damn about the 5 turnovers. That happens. Zion Williamson, when he had the ball in his hands for the most part in the second half, was absolutely positively unstoppable. He was a man amongst boys. Tillman tried. He really, really did. But what are you supposed to do with a dude that's 6'7", 280 pounds, with a 45-plus inch vertical leap? Zion Williamson is something special. And if he never, if this, before this NCAA tournament, if you doubt it, whether or not he was the number 1 overall draft pick, there is no doubt any longer. It is what it is. It's a wrap. He's that special. He's that special. I got to say this. Nobody else on Duke is. I'm going to say it right now. Nobody else on Duke is. And oh, by the way, yesterday, Coach K wasn't that special. We love Coach K now. The best in the business. Hall of Famer. Elite in his profession. No doubt. Yesterday was not a shining moment for him. It was not a shining moment for him. Tom Izzo reminded you why he's one of the great coaches in the game. It's the reason that Michigan State is going to its 10th Final Four. Tom Izzo can coach. Tom Izzo can coach. You look at this kid Langford, he ain't there. Nick Ward ain't himself. Even though he's back, not the same dude he was before he got injured early in the season. But somehow, some way, with Cassius Winston, with Aaron Henry, with Matt McQuaid, which, by the way, that was a beautiful move on him. He sat up there like Jordan, like, what do you want me to do? I mean, twisting his body in midair. That brother got up, and nice play on his part. Tillman and Goins. Look, you got to give credit where credit is due. You got 5 guys that showed up. Nick Ward only played 13 minutes. It wasn't about him. You look at these boys and the way they played. Winston played 40 minutes. Henry, the same guy that Tom Izzo yelled at. The same guy that caused national headlines because, my God, Tom Izzo raised his voice and looked fiery in the face of one of his players. And, oh, I wouldn't coach like that. Oh, please. He played the boy 38 minutes. He didn't bench him. He demanded of him and then put him in the game and let him play. McQuaid played 38 minutes. Tillman played 29. Goins played 38 minutes. Izzo only went 7 deep. And one dude in Gabe Brown had 3 minutes and Nick Ward had 13. So he really, really went with 5 when you really think about it. Even though Duke out-rebounded them 42-31 overall, Michigan State set the tone, crashing the boards in the first half. And even though you couldn't stop Zion Williamson, what did you do? You did everything you could to get the ball out of his hands. R.J. Barrett hit 1 big 3, missed another, had a chance to tie the game with free throws, blew that opportunity, missed the front end, and then made the back one by mistake. And the reason I sit up there and I say this, and somebody's got to say it, because damn it, these are college kids and we try to be nice, but let's just call it what it is, please. I'm going to tell you why I look at Coach K and I look at this loss. Ladies and gentlemen, R.J. Barrett did shoot 7 of 17 from the field. He did finish with 21 points for the game. I'd like to see him be able to use his right hand. The fact that he's not makes him somewhat predictable to defend. And in the waiting moments, you can't just go by his numbers. You got to go by what he produces when it really, really counts. Because the reality of the situation is that he's not ambidextrous. He doesn't have that kind of versatility as a point guard. And I look at R.J. I'm sorry, not as a point guard, but as a player. And I just look at R.J. Barrett as a guy that's very good. But I don't look at him as great as of yet. Not saying he won't be, but not yet. Where I really, really lose it, where I really, really lose my disappointment, it's not with Tre Jones because he can't shoot. He only finished with 4 points. He didn't show up 2 of 5 from the field. He was no threat after showing up in the Sweet 16 and playing lights out against Virginia Tech. Suddenly, he went back to form and couldn't buy a basket. Barely attempted any. But that's fine because he's primarily there for his defensive prowess. The person that's such a big, big disappointment to me, and has been a big disappointment all year long, is Cam Reddish. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I think a legitimate argument could be made that Coach K might push him out of Duke, might never want to speak to him again. How in God's name are you jumping around with the team in the pregame huddle, and right before tip-off time, Coach K finds out you ain't available to play? What was that about? This is the Sweet 16. You're there for a national title. You are Cam Reddish. How in God's name are you not ready to go in the Sweet 16? I got a problem with that. I really, really got a problem with that. I don't understand it. I need an explanation because it doesn't make sense to me. How in the hell are you not ready? If you are Cam Reddish, where the hell were you? What happened? I demand to know an answer. I don't give a damn that it's college and that it's kids that we're talking about here. What the hell happened? That's what I want to know. How in God's name was Cam Reddish not ready to go against Virginia Tech? Evidently something went awry because he didn't start yesterday against Michigan State. He did not start. Why wasn't he starting? What happened? I want details. I want information. I want to know. I want to know the answer. You're 6'5", 6'6". You're supposed to have a sweet stroke, even though the damn thing looks good, but it hardly doesn't go in consistently enough. You're athletic. You can defend. You've hit big shots to win games. We've seen Cam Reddish do this before. What the hell is going on? I'm looking at this and I'm saying, what? 2 for 8? In 37 minutes? 2 for 8, 2 field goals? What happened to the big three? Zion Williamson had no help. Cam Reddish didn't show up. Somebody's got to say it. The man didn't show up. And these guys actually talk about getting drafted, and he's going to be a high pick. Listen, he's a big-time prospect. And I guess a few years down the road, he's going to be something special. I'm telling you right now, if Cam Reddish is smart, he'd stay in school. He'd make up for what we saw, this debacle that we just saw this year. He'd stay in school. Hopefully, Coach K will allow him to, rather than kick his behind out the door. How the hell are you not ready for the Sweet 16? You were jumping around in the huddle before the game. And then Coach K finds out you ain't ready to go tip-off time? Coach K had no idea, according to reports. No idea. Jay Williams, who started at Duke, was an All-American and a national champion, said so. Coach K had no idea. He also said that Cam Reddish would probably be in the G League. You got men in there playing for their livelihoods. Mortgages, children to feed, mortgages to pay. All it got time for somebody that don't have a motor? You don't have a motor playing 35 to 40 games in college. How the hell can I trust you to have a motor with 82 games in the NBA? Cam Reddish needs to stay in school. Period. I cannot believe that he wasn't ready to go. And I felt so bad for Zion Williamson because, ladies and gentlemen, be clear, he's playing all by himself. Damn near all by himself. Deloria actually played a good game, hit all 5 of his baskets, helped down low. R.J. Barrett did have 21 points, hit 7 of 17 shots, but when crunch time really, really mattered, he wasn't that dude. Okay, I guess you could say he wasn't playing alone. But I'm just saying, when I think about the expectations of Duke, and I look at how Zion Williamson played and what a man he has proven to be. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, the hops, consistent. The effort, consistent. His prowess on the defensive side of the ball, consistent. He even hit a couple of threes. That was consistent. Get to the hole, finishing in the paint like a man. That was fit. I mean, all the things that he's been showing us all year long, it didn't dissipate. It didn't dwindle. It didn't diminish one iota in the postseason. Won the MVP for the ACC tournament. Was balling for Duke throughout this tournament. Zion Williamson is something special to behold. There is no debate. He is the #1 overall pick. Where would you prefer him to go? That's the question. Do you want him with the Knicks? Do you want him with LeBron and the Lakers? Where did you want him to go? That's the only thing to talk about. There is no debate. Zion Williamson is that special. He's that special. R.J. Barrett, he's a nice player. I just want to see him use his right hand more. But he's a nice player. He'll be a top 5 pick. He's a nice player. Cam Reddish, that boy better not come out of Duke. I mean, Cam Reddish was such a disappointment this year. You're strictly hiring him. If you draft him, you're grabbing him for potential. I'm talking about in terms of his level of productivity. It's such a disappointment. It really, really is. It's hard to put into words. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. I'm going to tell you something else, too. Even though Duke's not, my pick was North Carolina. I mean, I walked into the weekend, I was in the top 1% of the brackets. And now I'm off the planet, my God. I thought Duke was going to the Final Four. I thought Gonzaga was going to the Final Four. I didn't want Virginia to go to the Final Four. And I damn sure didn't pick Auburn because they were in North Carolina's region, and I thought North Carolina was going. What a disappointment. North Carolina just got their butts waxed. They got beat up. Auburn just took it to them. Now, I would tell you this. Auburn's kind of nice. And I'm a fan of Bruce Pearl. But Auburn is kind of nice. I just got to tell y'all. It's kind of nice. It really, really is. This kid, Jared Harper, man, let me tell y'all. Jared Harper, cat quick. Not the greatest perimeter shooter in the world. Only shot one of 6 from 3-point range. That's true. But I would tell you, when you look at Jared Harper, I got to admit to you, this kid is special. He showed up and balled out. I got a lot of respect for him. He balled out. But this kid, you know who I'm a fan of? I'm talking about for purposes of the NCAA tournament, when we're looking at them and we're saying, yo, what's going to happen here? I got to tell you. This kid, Bryce Brown, shot maker. He's one of those dudes where you could just give him the ball and say, here, take me there. He's one of those dudes that you can say, clear it out. I got this. He's one of those dudes. I like Bryce Brown. And the combination of Bryce Brown and Jared Harper makes these guys very, very, very dangerous. Auburn could win a national title. Auburn could win the national title. Now, I would say this, however. Don't get too caught up in that because, again, they went up against Kentucky. It's a rare moment. First of all, P.J. Williams is a man. Can I say that? P.J. Washington, I'm sorry. He's a man. He is a man. That brother came over the bench. He balled, played 37 minutes, had 28 points, 10 of 18 shots. I mean, 28 and 13. That's what he finished with. P.J. Washington is a man. That brother was special. I was disappointed in Reed Travis. I really was. he couldn't stop anybody when it really, really counted. You know, it was like they were attacking him at every turn. And I'll tell you what I'm also interested in. Listen, Keldon Johnson, decent game, 14 points. I expected more from him. I really did. But you know who I was really disappointed with? John Calipari. And I'm going to tell you why. Had nothing to do with the game itself. Because not like the man didn't know what he was doing as a coach. It's that the personnel you had couldn't get it done. They couldn't make shots. You didn't have pure, unadulterated shooters out there. I can't believe I saw a Kentucky squad with such a suspect backcourt. I really couldn't believe it. And then I got to thinking, back in the day, like John Wall was an All-American out of the, Washington Wizards, played at Kentucky. John Wall was a stud at Kentucky, but didn't really have that jump shot. And it cost them in the NCAA tournament, Final Four, if I remember correctly. Derrick Rose was sensational at Memphis, and he was something special to behold. No question about that. But wasn't really a shooter. Plus, fatigue is why Kansas beat Memphis for that national championship, because they were spent come overtime after Mario Chalmers hit that three to send the game into overtime. That was spectacular. Here's the thing. When you look at John Calipari and you think about the sensational guards that he's been able to recruit, how many of them have been straight up bona fide shooters? They can play, they can handle, they can get to the rack, they got heart, they ain't scared of anything, they can defend. All of those things are true. But where's the straight up bona fide shooter from the guards? I mean, when you talked about Derrick Rose at Memphis, you had Chris Douglas-Roberts there, okay? Because he could shoot. There's no question about that. I'm thinking back to the days of John Calipari at UMass when you had Michael Williams, who could shoot. And Lou Rowe was a man amongst boys in the post. Plus, they had Marcus Camby. It's back before some of you young whippersnappers' time. This is in the mid-'90s. That's how far back John Calipari goes. But when you look at some of the guards that he has recruited, evidently it's a struggle to find shooters. Higgins was no threat from the outside. They were damn near daring him to shoot. I mean, he only hit 1 of 4 from three-point range, but I'm just saying they were laying off him. And I'm surprised that Calipari couldn't get those guys. Couldn't find somebody that could really, really shoot the rock. But that's just me. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We'll get to your calls on the NCAA tournament. You got Auburn, Virginia, Michigan State, and Texas Tech in the Final Four. Who's your biggest surprise? What do you think is going to happen now? And what do you think about that Zion Williamson and Duke? My God, he is something special. All that and more coming up. We'll get into a little baseball and NFL talk and NBA talk as the show progresses today. So stick around. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes, do you? You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates.